You are here because of something you know. You know that the web design world that you have been told about, the 3D web design world, is not what they have told you. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. Now, you can hit the back button and you'll wake up in your bed and you can believe whatever you want. Keep watching and I will show you just how deep this rabbit hole goes. Now remember, all I'm offering you is the truth. All right, so here's the deal, right? So what is the 3D web design world? And let's kind of dive into why that's just totally not working anymore in today's marketplace. And we're going to go through a couple of things. We're going to go through, what is the 3D web design world, why it's not really working, and what's the big myth here, what's the misconception, and then we'll get into some more like nitty gritty details about what can you do about it, and why it doesn't work, and what is a new and better approach to running your web agency as opposed to this 3D web design fallacy that's out there today. So here's basically what it is. So the 3D web design world starts out with the discovery phase. The first D is discovery. And so you meet with your clients and you have this discovery session. we call it a discovery session because we don't really want to say what it actually is, which is more like an interrogation, because and you show up asking questions like, what kind of impact do you want your website to have? Tell me more about your business. Help me understand who your clients are and what you want them to do on your website. And, what do you want to achieve with your website? Like, all of these questions are questions that get asked during the discovery phase. And eventually, after a bunch of questions have been asked, you're jotting down notes, writing down as much information as you can to try to ascertain what the client really wants out of this web solution, out of their online presence, all of those things. And the good web designers, by the way, if you're talented at doing this, you can even make the process feel fun, exciting, engaging, and kind of, an occasional lighthearted smile or a little joke here and there can encourage the client to kind of keep the information coming, and until you eventually, hit the end of your questions and you are, you're kind of completed this discovery phase where you now kind of have an understanding of what the client actually wants out of their branding, out of their logo design, out of their marketing, their web presence, the whole thing that you're working on. You've kind of gotten an idea, what they have in mind for the project. And so then begins phase number 2. The second D is the design phase, where you kind of design and build out the website. And so what that looks like is you kind of go through this series of events where you take the notes that you've had from the project and you begin to start implementing that, right? So you select a color palette that you feel like is consistent with the messaging and the theme and the feel that your client wants to have. And, you begin, maybe there's some logo branding work involved as well. So you start, designing that out. You start putting the pages together, the navigation, the site starts taking shape, and you're really designing and building out the project. And then after that, you kind of get into the section of the design build out phase where you kind of have those client reviews, where you begin to, hit a couple of the milestones along the way, get some client feedback, make sure you're on the right track, make sure that, the client's happy with the way things are going. If they have any sort of, changes that they want to make, we try to address those, sooner rather than later. And then, progress continues on until we get to the point where we're sort of at this like staging environment now. Like, you're ready to go live, everything is kind of done, and you begin sort of this review process where you kind of walk the client through everything that's going on, and then they begin to see the, what they've had in their mind kind of come into reality, and then it happens. You begin to hear like that haunting creak of the door of scope creep begin to open, because now that they see what's going on, they're having new ideas, and they want to, they want to change this or change that or add something here, or, put one thing here instead of there. And so, then you begin this balancing act between, you want to keep the client happy, but you also want to keep the project profitable. So you have to manage the scope creep, and try to continue moving things along. And then once you do that, then eventually at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, it's time to actually get to the third D, which is deployment. So we've gone through the discovery phase, we've gone through the design and kind of build out phase, and now we're up to 3, which is the deployment phase. And this is where, everybody's excited, especially if that scope creep thing was handled effectively, and, the site is launched, everybody is, eagerly anticipating how things are going to go, and, some high fives are given, and hopefully that check for that last payment lands in your hand, and you kind of take one last look back over how fantastic of a job that you did, how everything really came together, and how your client site is just head and shoulders above what everyone else in their industry is like. And so surely success is just around the corner, and this whole build out is going to be fantastic. And so as you kind of out of the corner of your eye take that last look of the website, you then move on and try to find another client, and then you do the whole process all over again. So that's the 3D web design world. And you've got the design, you've got the discovery phase, then the design kind of build out phase, and then the deployment phase where you then move on to the next client after that. And then you just keep repeating this 3D process. And so the problem with that is it doesn't work. It used to work better than it does now. It's continually getting worse, and it really is a fundamentally flawed way to approach the kinds of clients that we're talking about here. Now, if you're a software development firm, and your client has a very detailed spec, and they're telling you exactly how to build out this web application and things like that, that's a different situation where you probably do want to go through a similar process to sort of what we just described. It's a little bit more involved. I have a lot of experience with building out like really large scale like web development projects. I've done a lot of work for electronic medical records and things like that. So, I'm not really talking about that sort of a thing. What I'm talking about is when you're working like with a client, trying to grow their business with the things that you can do online, especially with the WordPress ecosystem. That's what I'm talking about. And this approach doesn't work for that. And so here is why that is. It's an old, outdated approach. And the reason that we have this system is because we tend to stick with kind of like the first iteration of things. Even though the fundamental underpinnings change over time, we tend to stick with the first iteration because we kind of get familiar with it, and that's kind of what we know. We just kind of ride it out until it fizzles out. And really, quite frankly, we're at the fizzle out point right now. And for example, here's an example of things, of something, the QWERTY keyboard, right? Like the layout of the keys on your keyboard. So like if you look into it, like the original keyboards on typewriters, you press a key and like a hammer would slap a letter onto a page. And what would happen, I can even remember my mom, like way back when she had a typewriter, and this would happen. She would get to typing so fast that the hammers on the keyboard, or the hammers that would hit the keys onto the paper, would get kind of like gummed up, like you kind of get tangled up. Too many, the hammer that you just used couldn't retract fast enough for the next hammer to come on, and you had to slow down your typing, otherwise the keyboard would not function. It would jam basically. And so my understanding is that we've come up with this QWERTY keyboard. The reason that the letters are laid out the way they are is to slow you down so you don't type as fast, to prevent the hammers from getting tangled up on these typewriters. And here we are, we don't even have that problem anymore. We have, everything's digital now. You can type as fast as you want and you'll never have that problem. And we still stick with the same layout of the keyboard, even though there is demonstrably better ways to like the Dvorak keyboard layout, for example. Everybody, put the keys that you use the most in that home position so you don't have to stretch your fingers out too far to reach them. And boom, you will, once you learn that layout, you can type a lot faster. But of course, everybody sticks with the original one because that's what they know. It works fine. And, that's what we got, even though it's actually not really the best system for where we are today. And that's just kind of a small example of how things are with the web design world, where we have this 3D approach where the discovery, the design, the deployment, that kind of system, it kind of worked in the past, especially in the beginning of the web design world, where, building a website kind of was like building out a web application. Whereas now, we don't really have to do a whole lot of actual implementation of code. Like, you don't have to write a lot of code to put a website together in most cases because of the WordPress ecosystem. And that actually affords us a huge opportunity now that we never had before, where like if you want to do like another thing that I used to do is I used to write like applications, like college application software, so people could apply online to go to colleges. And that was like a multi-page form. You could put bookmarks in the form and kind of come back to where your safe spot and all that stuff. And it was really complicated because we were trying to tie, not only were we trying to tie like this multi-page form process into like a web app, but we're trying to, kind of tie the whole web app into like offline marketing campaigns. Like you get in the mail, like direct mail, a flyer, or some sort of a, piece of mail with a code on it. And we tie that code into this college application where, a significant chunk of the application is filled out for you based on what the marketing firm knows about you already. So you don't have to type in your name and your address and all the stuff that people obviously know because they sent you a piece of mail already. So anyway, all that is to say that, that old process is now continuing on forward into this new era where you don't really have to do that. Like multi-page forms, you can use like Gravity Forms, for example, is a plugin where you can just kind of really quickly create a form. And there's nothing that, like, a lot of times people give flack about that. Well, everybody's just using themes now and plugins for everything, and nobody's writing code anymore. And it's like, sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's a much better idea. Why on earth, if all you need to do is create a multi-page form, why would you do that from scratch on your own when you could install Gravity Forms and do it in just a couple of minutes? Now, granted, that sometimes can go way further down the road than is necessary. Like if somebody's trying to build out like an actual application and they're building it with like all these like bolt-on modules and stuff, and they don't know what's going on, and eventually they just make this spaghetti code mess of junk that's completely unable to be maintained. That's a different situation. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you're working with the business, and they need to connect with clients, they need to connect with social media, they need to maybe do a little bit of e-commerce, some email marketing, so all, collect some information from their clients through forms. All of these types of things can very well be done in the WordPress ecosystem, better now than ever before. Themes are fantastic and fast and quick and secure. Plugins can do basically anything and connect to anything. Hosting is better. Security with the hosting is better. Backups are that whole problem is solved. All of the issues that used to be problems that people kind of, complain about in the WordPress world, we've made giant leaps forward, but yet we're still doing this same old framework for building out these websites, and it doesn't really work. And so here's a couple of reasons. So we kind of talked about now why we have it. Let me tell you a little bit why it doesn't really work. It doesn't work because first of all, it doesn't work for you, and it doesn't work for your client. Well, let's first start talking about you. It doesn't work for you because there's really no consistency there. There's no you don't have any recurring revenue coming in most of the time. There's, except for maybe hosting or WordPress plugin maintenance and things like that, but most of the people that I talk to are not setting up any sort of meaningful, like I'm talking $500 to $1,000 per month per client, that kind of retainer. For ongoing like marketing services, business consulting services, whatever you can do. And it's different for different people. Like if you've got videography skills, or if you've got photography skills, if you're good at SEO, if you're good at social media management, if you're good at, branding or maybe offline design, there's all kinds of things that you can add into the mix that's going to help your clients grow their business. But most people aren't structuring their relationships with their clients in a way that keeps things going. So you kind of get to that third D, you get to the deployment phase, and that's pretty much it for your relationship with the client. And you don't have that retainer in place. Therefore, it's you don't have any stability with your business. You're not getting any more income until you land the next client. Who knows how long that's going to be? And what if you land like 3 or 4 at a time because you go to a conference or something like that, and everybody wants you to build the website all at once, and then you can't handle it. So, it's, all of this, the feast or famine problem. So that's a big issue. And then here's another big problem. When you follow this structure, this 3D design, web design structure, you're not differentiating yourself from people that don't have the experience that you have. So, for example, when you show up and you're asking your clients to give you the roadmap, then you're relying on them to generate some sort of a plan for success. And then you're coming along and saying, yes, I can do the things in the plan, but so can everybody else. Everybody can do that. Like if somebody needs to connect Facebook to their website, everybody can do that. If somebody needs to connect an email sign-up form to MailChimp or whatever, everybody can do that. If somebody needs to, change a page on a navigation or set up a slider or a gallery or whatever the technical thing is, everybody can do that. And you don't have to be doing it for 15 years or whatever to learn how. I mean, you can be doing it for like 15 days and you can learn how to do that. In fact, a lot of times clients can even do it all by themselves, especially on other platforms like Wix or Weebly or Squarespace or one of those do-it-yourself web design platforms. They can do that. So when you go through this discovery phase, you're not really doing anything. You're asking questions, maybe providing a small amount of direction, just kind of getting your client to think about things, but they could be thinking about those things on their own. And so when you get this kind of pricing objection where somebody doesn't, you send in a proposal that's like $1,500 and you hear nothing back, or the client says, well, I'm just going to, I love what you're telling me, but it's just too expensive. I need to find someone cheaper for that. Or, like I've talked about my daughter's piano teacher, like she just, can go on and build her own. Like I literally said, hey, just go build your own website on Wix yourself. You don't need to hire somebody like me for that. I mean, it's obvious. Just put up a couple pictures and stuff on your site and a form for people to email you and your phone number and Shazam, you're done for free. And so, you don't really have to go through that design phase anymore because you're not really adding value. Most of the time, very, very little value is added there. And so that's one of the fundamentally different things about what we're doing now is that the whole concept of like the coding, the trying to figure out like the specs, that doesn't really make any sense for most of the time, for most of the types of clients that you'll be working with, because there aren't really any specs. There's no really like technical requirements to make a business website function today. Whereas it used to be, it used to be like, hosting questions, backup questions, all the kinds of different things that go into actually keeping the site alive. There's some tech specs that were involved in all of that. But today, you don't have to be able to scope that out, very, very in very much detail, because most clients, they need content, they need social media management, they need marketing, they need business results. And the types of skills that you bring to the table can generate those results. And that kind of leads me to another reason why this isn't working. When you have this 3D design structure to your agency, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to leverage your experience. So like when you go through that discovery phase, you're not, most web designers aren't applying the knowledge and the skills and the expertise that they've acquired over the years in a way that differentiates them from someone who doesn't have those skills or doesn't have that experience. And so like I'll talk to people with college degrees or with like literally like 10 plus years in experience in some area of what they're doing. Maybe not the whole thing, but like maybe maybe you've been a photographer or something like that for like 10 years, or maybe you've been a videographer for 10 years, or maybe you've just been consulting with businesses for 10 years or whatever it might be for a long time. And you're finding that you're not able to tap into that history that you have, that experience that differentiates you from people that don't have that. Because here's the thing, like, if you go and get somebody on Upwork, or you get somebody on Fiverr, or the client just goes themselves to build a website on some platform, no experience is there. I mean, they're not tapping into any of the in-depth resources that are available with regard to any kind of like confidence or history in doing this. It's like just fly by the seat of your pants and hope for the best. And here's why that's a problem. The reason that is a problem is because if you're doing that, like if you're like, kind of put yourself in your client's shoes for a second. Suppose you're the business owner and you're going out to hire a web designer and to try to build out some kind of an online presence to kind of grow your business. And they're asking you questions about like who's your target market? What do you want your website to do? What are all these things? And they're putting the burden on you to come up with the plan, and you've never done it before. Because, maybe you're a doctor, or maybe you're a landscaping company, or maybe you're whatever it is. You're not a web designer. You're not a graphical designer, whatever. You don't have any digital marketing experience, but yet you're the one answering the questions to try to make the plan. Well, you might feel okay about your answers. You might feel like you got through that discovery phase okay, but you've never done it before. You don't really have any confidence that the plan is good. It might seem good, but like, how do you know? How do you know if it's going to work? And so there's no confidence. And the reason there's no confidence is because there's been no leadership on the part of the people that should be knowing what the real answers are to these questions. So if you've got, 10 years or even 5 years or even 1 year of experience, that's a year more than your client has with regard to anything online or digital marketing or what's out there, what's available, what they can be doing. And so you need to be tapping into that experience. with leadership and integrity and offering your clients an investment that's going to have a positive return. Because here's the thing, there's a 3-part sequence here that is critical if you want to be charging high ticket rates for your work. First, you have to show up with leadership and do the things that we've been talking about. Like, lead your clients to a level of success that's higher or greater or bigger than they would be able to get by themselves. Like, instead of having them come up with the plan, you need to lead them to a plan that's better than they can come up with on their own. And when you have that leadership, that begins to instill confidence. And then when you have confidence, then your client feels safe and comfortable with these high ticket investments. But if there's no leadership, there's no confidence. And if there's no confidence, there's no investment. And that's why the pricing is falling. And it's continuing to get worse and worse and worse, because you could sort of pad the pricing by the complexity of building websites. So even though there was no business leadership involved, it was still really hard to build a website, or it used to be. And so therefore you can say, I'm charging because I've got, a lot of skills building websites, and the website's going to stay online, or it's going to be more secure, or it's going to load faster, or, some technical benefit of some sort that you're going to be able to provide better than somebody else. Well, that technical benefit is almost completely void now, because even a Wix site loads relatively fast. I mean, fast enough for like a business site. I mean, what are you going to get, an extra 2 seconds of load speed or whatever off if you do an awesome job? So you're going to take like, a 2.5 second page load down to a 1.5 second page load or whatever. It's like, it loads fast enough. Nobody cares. Nobody really differentiates. It's not like you're trying to like code up like an airbag for a car where like if you miss it by a millisecond, someone's dying. It's like people can wait for another 300 milliseconds for the page to load. So there's really no benefit there. Or what about what if the server goes down? That used to be a huge thing, Wix sites, Squarespace sites, they don't really go down that much. And so, like, if you're putting a cheap WordPress site on some kind of $3 per month hosting experience, I mean, it's much more likely that that's going to go offline than one of these larger platforms. So, you can't really win with that kind of argument. Anyway, all that is to say that the whole point of trying to tap into your experience is something that you have to leverage in order to get these high ticket sales. And so, so here, let's kind of dive into what do you do instead. So the 3-part process that is fundamentally missing and completely different today is you have to show up with leadership. The leadership causes your clients to feel confident in the results that you're proposing. And then with the confidence comes the high ticket pricing. And so, the reason that it's continuing to get worse is you just can't keep doing the high ticket pricing with all of the other technical benefits that used to be a big deal kind of being washed away. And so now you have to bring different benefits. And what I'm telling you is the benefits need to be results. So, if a lot of people that are in this group have actually already watched, one or more of my longer form presentations. And if you haven't, you can go to doublestack.net and you can there's a button on there to click and watch the new approach to WordPress consulting. So if this is something you want to kind of get more involved with and kind of learn more about for free. It's just, you can go on the website and, you'll see this advanced training on the sidebar. You click that, and you can, watch the session for free. It's like 45 minutes, and I'll walk you through 5 steps to that will revolutionize you. That's how you really get to this new approach. So obviously, I can't go into like that 45-minute training here, but if you want to watch that, that's free. Check it out. Nothing for sale in it. If you want to talk about it afterwards, give me a call. We'll do that. But check it out. I think you'll find it really eye-opening. So, but the new approach in a nutshell is you have to show up with leadership, because leadership breeds confidence, and confidence leads to these high-ticket investments. And so, the better approach is really, you don't need the discovery phase tends to be where everything rides off the rails, and the reason is because when you show up and put all of the weight of developing some sort of a successful plan on the client, all leadership, confidence, and high ticket pricing just flies out the window right when you walk in the door, when you come in with that mindset. So there's a different mindset here. And what I'm talking about is the mindset of actually coming to the table with integrity, with leadership, with confidence, tapping into the history that you have with digital marketing, with web design, with WordPress, with the WordPress ecosystem, because there's so many things to know. with regard to all of this stuff, that the clients are overwhelmed. A lot of web designers show up and ask a lot of technical questions. Do you like MailChimp? Do you like Mad Mimi? Do you like MailerLite? Do you like Constant Contact, Aweber? All of these different, email. It doesn't make any difference to them. They don't care about that. Or, how many pages do you need? Can you write better content? How many times have you tried to get content from your clients and they just drag their feet on it because they're no good at it? They don't know how to write better content. And here's another tip for you. Almost all business owners are really bad at writing any sort of marketing content for their business. And when I say that, I'm talking about you too, and me too, everybody. Like when you try to write information about your own stuff, it's really, really hard to do in a way that engages new customers and clients. And the reason why is because you dive into the details of what you know. And as evidence of that, take a look at your own website, and you'll probably find that the information you've put on there is pretty much like a list of all the things that you know how to do. HTML, CSS, WordPress plugin development, SEO, branding, logo design, Photoshop, whatever it might be. Probably 80% of your website is filled with all the different kinds of things that you know how to do. And of course, you're not marketing to the right group at that point, because businesses and the people that you're trying to work with, they don't know what that stuff is. They don't know how to, they might not even recognize the names of it. All these 3-letter acronyms and stuff. Even if they do recognize the name, they don't really know how to apply those things to generate the business results they're looking for. So you're probably marketing to the wrong group. Not only are you doing it, but your clients are doing it too. So you ask your clients to write some copy for the website. Like you say, how many pages do you need? They try to figure something out. They write some copy. And the next thing you know, they've done the same thing that you and I do, where you just dive too deep into the details. So you have to learn how to not do that. And you have to learn how to write better copy that engages people. And I can show you how to do it. I spent a lot of time perfecting that craft. I'm not saying I'm the best there ever was, but I'll show you a methodology behind it so that you don't overwhelm clients with technical stuff they don't know about. So if that's something that you feel like you're struggling with, then let's talk about fixing that problem, because that problem is really holding you back in so many different areas. It's holding you back on your website. It's holding you back in your social media marketing. It's holding you back in your proposals. It's holding you back in client meetings. It's holding you back on phone calls. It's like having the wrong mentality when it comes to how to talk about your business fundamentally holds you back in so many different areas that it's almost impossible to break out of that until you change your mindset and change the way that you think about who you are, change the way you think about your business, what you're delivering, the way you think about your clients and how you can show up for them. All of those things are fundamentally changed when you begin to learn how to properly talk about your business at the level that your clients are ready to hear about. And that's another thing, because there's multiple levels, by the way. And like one of the things that I was actually talking about at one of the last WordCamps where I was talking was like I actually used to do jujitsu. And I remember, it's kind of a long story, but to kind of keep it real short for right now, when I first learned about jujitsu, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I was incredibly jazzed about it because I'd seen it on TV. It looked awesome. I wanted to do it. So I show up at the gym, where they're teaching this stuff. I get this private lesson. Nobody's at the gym. I went at lunch hour during like a Thursday or something, and nobody was there. I just met with the instructor, and he's kind of like showing me some stuff on the mat. Everything is crisp and clean and great and easy. And so I signed up. And then once I got there, it was totally different now, right? So now like all the other guys are there with their like stinking, sweating gis, and they're like twisting my neck into pretzels. And, I'm obviously the worst because everybody's been doing it longer than I just showed up and brand new at it. And so, people are like sitting on your chest. I think I cracked a rib at one point. This like 250-pound guy was like, you had to let him do it. You have to take turns where one guy is like the dummy and the other guy is like the guy practicing on the dummy, and then you flip roles. And so like you have to let the guy sit on your chest because you're the guy that they're practicing on. And so I think at one point he kind of hit too hard and he was like really heavy, and that hurt a lot. But so why did I do it? Why would I go through all of that hardship in order to be part of that group? And it's because I first bought into the benefits of wanting to be able to be good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And they didn't say, hey, look at all the nitty gritty details. Look at how stinky everybody's geese are because they never wash them and they just keep them in these, duffel bags where they just funk up all the time. And look how much it hurts when you get your neck twisted into a pretzel. And look how much it hurts when somebody sits on your chest. And, and now come on in and now let's check that all out. And of course, nobody would ever show up if that's how they would talk about the gym and everything. And instead what they do is they talk about these benefits and these higher level things, and they draw you in and you begin to say, yeah, that's something that I want. And once you learn about the benefits, then you're willing to invest in yourself to discover the details. And so, that's a really fundamental point to make. And, of course, there's a lot deeper than that. I can show you a lot more stuff to actually begin to really dive into that, which will fundamentally change, your marketing, your website, your social media, exposure, your phone calls, your meetings, all the different things that you do when you talk about yourself, even when you go to business networking meetings, all of that stuff, we can fix that in a way that actually makes people, makes their ears perk up and wants to listen to what you're saying in a way that engages them as opposed to overwhelming them. And of course, now once you unlock these keys of success for you, you can then turn around and use that same skill set for your clients too. And so it's a huge win. And that's what I'm talking about. And then as you begin to learn this new approach to WordPress consulting, you're going to find that this old 3D web design approach doesn't even really exist anymore, even though people are still kind of following along with it. And of course, really, I kind of started out the whole thing with the whole Matrix analogy and all that stuff, and got my little Matrix shirt and whatever. Best I could do at getting the glasses going, but it's like that. It's not real anymore. It's like people are going out there trying to win clients in a way that just doesn't work. That doesn't really even exist anymore, with regard to what we're talking about now. There's certain circumstances where if you change the nature of the client, then you, of course, change the nature of your consulting, and then that changes the way that you interact with them. But what I'm talking about is people that work in the WordPress community that are reaching out to clients, oftentimes local clients, like small businesses, and helping those businesses grow by attracting new clients for them. That's what I'm talking about. So if that's the kind of business that you have, and you want to start doing better for yourself and doing better for your clients by giving yourself the opportunity. So I'm talking about if you're probably the clients that I'm working with in the DoubleStack program are charging 5 to 10 times more than they were before they started the program. And not only are they doing that, but they're actually onboarding clients, and they're saying things about how great it is to finally feel like they have the ability to connect with their clients in a way that enables them to serve them at a deeper level and drive better results and actually do the right thing for the clients that they're working with. And that's a huge win right on down. It's great for you because now you're staying in business. You're making more money. You're crushing it with regard to your business, and you're doing better for their business, which of course means that they're able to reach out and serve their clients even better because they're working with somebody like you. And if it wasn't for the people like the people in this group who really do have that heart to do better for their clients and to help their clients serve their clients better, if it wasn't for people like us, then your clients are going to go out there and fall victim to these low budget, cheap websites that don't really do anything. You're not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to get out of this problem that they have where they can't really attract new clients with their online presence. And it's just going to be a fail right on down the line. So it's really heavy on either side of the scale where, if it wasn't for you going out there and doing this, then the mission fails. Like there's nobody out there to help. And there's very few people out there that are tapping into these changes, because this is a fundamentally new thing that's really popping up in the WordPress economy over the past year or two that really wasn't the case before. And the people that are adapting to this new environment are the ones that are really experiencing the growth and the benefit. So if this is something that you feel like you want to talk about, let's head over to doublestack.net/call, and you'll see my calendar, and you can book a personal call, you and me, and we'll really dive into this together and figure out, how can we get you charging 5 to 10 times more than you're currently charging? How can we do that in a way that gets recurring revenue coming in for you? And how can we do it in a way so that you're deeply and more effectively serving your clients than ever before. And of course, that means driving the results that they are counting on you for. How can you do that even better? So if that's the kind of thing that you want to talk about, head over to doublestack.net/call, doublestack.net/call. That's where my personal calendar is. And again, it's going to be a little bit limited because when you fill out that form, you're talking specifically to me, not like anybody else. It's you and me one-on-one, and I can only handle so many calls in the day. So if that's something that you feel like you want to be doing, head over there and try to book a call. I actually have opened this morning. I opened up my calendar even wider to try to even go even earlier in the day to try to, make it available so that the people that need to get in touch can do that. So, but again, if you're not serious about this, if you're more curious than you are serious, don't book a call, because that actually blocks people from actually getting a call. You're taking up a spot from somebody who really does want to make this change. So, but on the other hand, if this is something that you are serious about, you really want to be doing this, you need the help, you really want to tap into your experience and leverage all of the things that you know how to do, all of your skill set in a way, so you can double or triple or quadruple or even like 10 times charge more than what you're currently charging and get that recurring revenue coming in. Basically what I'm saying is, if you want to have a business that's sustainable, profitable, and scalable, then let's get on the phone and let me show you a structure that's better than this 3D web design model, that's going to be able to get you the real results that you're looking for. And of course, the time to do it is right now, because how much longer are you going to wait and let clients slip away and tell you they can't afford your services and that you're just charging too much, they need to go find somebody cheaper or whatever. It's frustrating. It can burn yourself out. So before you let that happen, if you really have the mindset to go out and serve your clients and drive results for them, let's get you on the right course, on the right path, so that when you put your effort into it, you actually get the results you're looking for. And again, there's a lot of work involved. There's no question about it. It's not a get-rich-quick situation. It's not an easy thing. The people that I'm working with, my clients, in the DoubleStack system, they're putting in an awful lot of work. They're really they're working their butts off, but they're also closing thousands and thousands of dollars of clients. Like one of the guys that I'm working with closed like over $15,000 in the last 2 weeks. So, that's huge, absolutely huge. So anyway, if that's the kind of thing that you're interested in doing, then, let's talk about that and, get you on the right track so you can really have the business that you've always wanted. And of course, right here in the beginning of 2019, what better time to do it? Right in the start of the year, so you can enjoy this all year long. So head over to doublestack.net/call, book a call with me, and we'll get you going. So I look forward to talking to you, and let's see, we'll be back in touch again on Tuesday. All right, guys, take care.